Yeah, I guess I can record.
Yep.
I
Okay.
I'm assuming it's doing video as well.
What did I just do?
No, I
Okay.
just hit stop video. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Um, yeah, I
Or do
assume
you
it
do you
it
have
just
the recording thing at the top of your screen?
yeah. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. The only reason I was just thinking that would be quicker than me emailing it to you and all that crap. So
okay. Yeah. I assume it's doing video automatically.
yes, yeah, it does. So it'll do both.
Okay. How do you
So
change
what'll
it to the
happen?
side by
Hmm?
side? How do you change it
Well,
to this side by side?
oh, okay. Top right corner view.
Okay,
So
top
where it
right
says
corner.
view, change it to gallery.
Okay, there we go.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So
I should have shaved. I look like a pedophile now.
it yeah, it just looks like a shadow. I'm gonna talk about how needing to shave.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, all right. Yeah, but
but
you actually have more than 8 follicles.
that is true.
Okay.
It is to where it's actually a beard. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
not yeah. It's gotten better over the years. It used to be very patchy and all that stuff, and now it's actually kind of beardish, I guess.
Okay.
Only took me to be almost 40, but I guess we can start.
Yeah.
All right, guys. 107% F1 show, Curtis and Bernie. So, a long time ago, I met a friend of my mom. This guy, Steve Russo. Shout out Steve Russo, really great guy. And he owns a furniture store. And I walked into the furniture store and I said, "Hey, I'm so and so's son." And he says to me, "I have many terrible things to say to you about your mother." And I think I would say I have many terrible things to say to you about the FIA today, because that's in a race that was just bonkers the entire time. It sucks that my lasting takeaway from that race is, wow, the FIA did an awful job at everything today.
Yeah. I mean, I told you during our pre-chat text messages that the race left me with a bad taste in my mouth. The track was terrible, even in the
Mhm.
F2 races. In the feature race today, I don't know if you watched it or not, but
I did
there
not get a
were.
chance to.
Oh, okay. Well, they didn't start on time, and then when they did, there was a red flag on lap one, and then they
Mhm.
delayed the race again, and then there was another red flag. They changed the race to 20 minutes plus 1 lap, and then when they started again, there was another red flag on lap 6. So they had to roll back to the positions on lap 4, and then that race ended terribly. So when the F1 race started, I had a bad feeling about this, and yeah, same thing happened. Just multiple red flags, delays, restarts. So the track was terrible, the race was terrible. I agree with you. Like you said, the stewards were terrible,
Oh, awful.
and the last thing I mentioned was there was some pretty bad sportsmanship today that I did not particularly enjoy as well. So overall, this past weekend left a bad taste in my mouth at the Saudi GP, and like I said, this is probably a race that Formula One will want to forget as soon as possible.
Which is a shame given all the, like I don't mind the on track drama and a little bit of, like maybe over the line defending by Max and all the weird stuff that happened.
Yeah.
As far as the track itself, the guy whose take on it I agreed with most was Checo.
Hmm.
And he basically said that the track is needlessly dangerous because you have it's the second fastest track on the circuit after Monza,
Hmm.
and it's the second narrowest track on the circuit after Monaco. So I get why Monaco is the way that it is, because Monaco is the streets of Monaco. You can't make that circuit wider. The track basically has been what it is since like 1929,
Hmm.
and cars were a fair bit narrower back then. So Monaco is Monaco, the width of Monaco should be an anomaly, but they designed this narrow track for 2021 and beyond spec race cars. I don't understand it. Like I like the shape of the track. I think the track itself is really neat, and it was probably a little bit better for racing than people initially thought that it would be. And like, I know it's a street circuit, but it was mostly new streets that they made for the track.
Yeah.
There wasn't any reason for the track to be as narrow as it is and have these blind corners. It's a brand new circuit. You didn't have to do it. So they made the track, like Checo said, needlessly dangerous. I like a little bit of, risk reward, getting closer to the wall. I don't mind. Like, I don't need like big Paul Ricard-esque runoff areas at every track, because I think that's boring. A lot of times there should be penalties, but I mean, look what happened to Nikita Mazepin, of all people, running into the back of George Russell. There was nothing that Nikita Mazepin could have done.
No.
Because that's just how the track is. It's like 5 feet wide. Everything's blind. As soon as one car in the middle of a pack goes around, it's going to be everybody.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Finish it.
No, it confuses me, because the cars are not getting any narrower. They're going to be a little shorter next season, maybe slightly narrower if that's what works better for the aero, but I doubt it, because why would you want to have a narrower track width? You just wouldn't. So you have this track, and now they're like, oh yeah, we're going to build this circuit, and then this is the circuit that you build. Street circuits are cool, but it's just it seems unnecessary. A lot of the more dangerous bits of the track seem unnecessary.
Yeah, and not only is it dangerous for the drivers, but dangerous for the marshals as well. When there was debris on track and they had the VSC come out, there's just
which time?
yeah, I know. There's no way for them to be able to see if there's a car coming down unless it's on one of the the two straights. The guys are going to be running out there to grab chunks of debris, and they can barely see 20 feet around the next corner. I think that was so dangerous. And I think that's why the VSC, can't remember which one it was, but one of them lasted for like 4 laps almost.
Yeah, that's a while for a VSC, which is like, okay, why don't we just go full safety car if it's going to last that long?
And it's because, marshals can't see around the corners, and the debris, it was pretty bad, but it didn't need 4 laps to clean up. And so it wasn't just terrible for the drivers, it was terrible for the marshals too, who aren't even being paid. They're all volunteers at this level. So yeah, I understand what Checo means when he said it was needlessly dangerous. And throughout Friday and Saturday, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. But as soon as I saw what happened in the F2 race and how they were rushing through to try and get everything ready for the F1 race, I kind of figured it didn't bode well for the Formula One race today. And it turned out to be, true.
Yeah. I mean, it was a super interesting weekend, but for kind of like all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
In qualifying, Max is about to put in this like Senna-esque lap of the gods. He was going to be 4/10 clear of anybody else, and then bins it, in the last turn, which was both fascinating and terrible to watch, because you watch Formula One to watch greatness, and so like a ridiculous lap like that, with him just carrying so much more speed than anybody, going flat out through spots where Hamilton had to lift. You hate to see a lap end like that. Ultimately, Max led the race and had, after the first red flag, had an opportunity, so it didn't hurt him. And I'm not sure that with the straight line speed of the Mercedes, I don't really, and for that matter, Max's total lack of standing start pace.
That was totally weird.
Yeah, it seems to me that, if Max was started on pole, I think Lewis would have been past him going into the first turn anyway. He all the shots he had at it, and he never really got it right. It was the one where he started from third was far and away his best start.
Yeah, and only because Ocon was kind of keeping Hamilton off the racing line there too. So he kind of lucked into that one.
That was still so weird that they left Max all that space on the inside. I mean, it was an impressive send by Max. It was, it was a very Max kind of move, but I'm like, God, you guys just left him He left Max Verstappen this big, a RB16B width on the inside, so he took it.
That is the inexperience of Esteban Ocon starting on pole position.
It was Hamilton too, and it was Hamilton that was in the middle of the track who had just I don't know if he was just preoccupied with Ocon.
Yeah, probably.
So all right. So to go back a little bit to the beginning, I guess, of the race, it was uneventful at the start. It was just going to be the two Mercedes and then Max.
It was a good play by the Mercedes cars.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they did a much better job here than they did Mexico, the last time they had the front row lockout and Max passed them both.
Yeah.
And then we get the yellow. We get the safety car, and both the Mercedes pit. Max stays out, and 2 laps later, it's red flagged. And at that point, I thought, okay, well, the race is over. Because how are you going to pass on this track? And they're all just going to go to the end on the hard tire. And in fact, that might have been what would have happened. Although then again, we got the restart, and Max was bad on the restart. And I suppose you could argue at least by like the third restart, it probably should have been a rolling restart because of
how dangerous it had been before.
I think overall, like it's weird. I don't feel great about the race itself. I feel that the result was correct. I do feel like Lewis earned the win, but I have this bad feeling about the way that racing now happens in Formula One, because it favors it. I don't know. It almost discourages aggression, because Max can go to the outside and all Lewis has to do is turn in late, and he can just push Max off, and Max has to back off. And not just Max, but Max could do the same thing to Lewis. So you're creating this, by the rules, that's all the leader has to do is push the other guy off the track, and then he can go past him, and he's going to have to give the spot back. And I almost think like to go along with, like, you can have that rule, but you have to say to the leader, you have to make an effort to make the apex of that turn, because that's all everybody does now. It's just, if you have the inside line, whether you're slightly behind or slightly ahead, all you can do is just roll off the brake. Now you're ahead, and you force the guy off the track.
Yeah.
And it's, Max said it after they told him that he was driver of the race, where I feel like the fans think this, but maybe the FIA doesn't, where the fans like the harder racing, and obviously Max does, but the drivers by and large don't. It's just like, I like the way that Max drives. I like that he's aggressive. He pushes the boundaries. And for him, knowing the way that the rules are, it's like, okay, I can make this move, right? Lewis is going to go past him with the DRS. So all Max can really do then is send it, try to outbrake Lewis and hope that he can maintain the spot on the track. And maybe the FIA will or won't make him give the spot back. Because at that point, well, if the FIA just makes him give the spot back, then it's the same as if Lewis would have just breezed past him with the DRS. No harm done.
What's the worst that would have happened?
You may as well try to hold on to the spot. But then the FIA, and back to who I think is really the villain of today, because I have no issue with anything really that Max or Lewis did during the race. I have a big issue with the FIA because of the inconsistency, because they don't have full-time stewards.
Yeah.
It's different stewards at every single race, which is stupid. You have enough guys that you employ that you could just have, would it be so bad to put Felipe Massa on the payroll and just make him a full-time driver steward? Right.
I don't think he's there. He's there at most of those races. He's there for
almost every race anyway.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the NFL, for our American listeners. The NFL until recently did not have full-time referees, and it showed. You know, it's inconsistent. They don't do a good job because they're not full time. They don't do it every single time. You have different stewards for like every race. Well, why would you want that?
Right.
All the drivers are asking for at this point is consistency, which they have not gotten.
Yeah.
And, you know, for Michael Massey to be on the radio negotiating with Red Bull.
I thought that was so weird. I thought that was so weird.
You're the race director. You're not there to negotiate where they say, well, you can do this or else we're going to refer it to the stewards. No, man, you tell them, hey, you have to give that spot back.
Right.
Why are we having a discussion? You are the race director.
Yep.
You know, I'm sure it's more than Michael Massey bargained for, but dude, like control your race. You are the race director.
Yeah. It sets a bad precedent.
It does. And I mean, it seemed to be getting away from him.
Yeah.
And I mean,
the race starting to get way out of control.
Yeah. And if you look at it, I guess it's a miracle that it ended as kind of conventionally as it did, with Lewis winning, Max, and then Max getting 15 seconds worth of penalties.
Is that what it was at the end? 15?
Yeah, he got a 5-second penalty, which is why he couldn't pit, because they didn't think that he would be 5 seconds clear of Ocon.
Yeah.
Even though it's like, well, if you did that with 5 laps to go and you came in for a fresh set of soft tires, I think you're probably going to pull out a second lap gap.
I think
over Esteban Ocon.
Yeah.
Who was not exactly flying at that point. But yeah, and then they tacked on another 10 seconds because I think they determined that he did hit the brakes when Lewis was behind him when they were trying to get him to give the spot back.
Yeah, he was weaving all over the road too.
And so the main thing with that, and I can't blame Lewis. At that point, Max had been told to give the spot back to Lewis. Lewis had not yet been told that Max was giving him the spot.
Yeah. I think his strategist was saying we were just telling the engineers as Max was slowing down at that point.
Right.
So Lewis did not get any message.
How do you like it? Again, the FIA, you have to tell Lewis first. You can't tell Max first, because then there is a time where Max knows what's going on and Lewis doesn't, which you can't have.
Right.
Because as we saw, Max can affect Lewis. Lewis knowing that Max has to give him the spot does not affect Max,
Right.
So you had to tell Lewis that. Lewis, Max is going to be giving you the spot back. He's probably going to do it here because that's where it works best for him.
Yeah.
So, with Lewis, it's like you just see Max slowing down in the middle of the track. I'm sure in his brain, he's like, is there a VSC? Is there something I'm missing?
Is there a car stopped ahead somewhere?
Right. He just sees Max stopping in the middle of the track. I can't blame Lewis Hamilton at all.
Yeah.
I saw the Verstappen fans on F1 Twitter be like, oh, Lewis ran into the back of him. Dude, shut up. Like, how weird of a situation that was. And, not for nothing, if you're going to have like a medium speed collision like that in a Formula One car, you want to be the guy getting rear-ended, not the guy running into the back of somebody.
Yeah.
The splitter is a lot more substantial than the noses on those cars.
Yeah, you can swap out the nose at a pit stop. You can't do that with
it's also easy to break, and that would have ruined his race.
Yeah.
So it's just the whole thing for me, from the FIA standpoint, was just baffling how bad a job the FIA did on this race. They have zero control over it. They're gonna have to make some changes in the off season.
Yeah,
because
I think one thing that would really help with the swapping of positions is if the FIA just came out and say something like, at the start of lap 56, you need to give up that position going into turn 1.
Yeah,
I think that because if you think about it, what if Hamilton had passed him right before a series of fast corners where he would have gained a whole bunch of time on Verstappen, and then Verstappen gives back the position in a spot where Verstappen's going to get DRS in the next corner and then re-overtake him anyway.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, which he did, and I think that. I mean, how is that fair? That he doesn't lose out on anything when something like that happens, and I really think Well, for one, the reason why I dislike Verstappen is because of Verstappen fans. I don't have an issue with Verstappen himself, but
Right.
his fans make him so hard to like because I don't want them to be happy at the end of the day.
Fair.
Um, I mean, what is the incentive to follow the rules for Verstappen? I think the move that he pulled on Hamilton in Brazil was way blatantly worse than the move that was done today. And in
Yeah, for sure.
Brazil, they
Mhm.
told him to keep racing. So why would, what's the incentive of giving up the position easily when he knows, last time I did it, they didn't penalize me anyway. And then today they penalized him for something that was less blatant than the Brazilian incident.
Mhm.
Um, which is why I totally agree with you that they need full-time stewards, they need consistent calls, and they they don't need to give these guys the opportunity to try and exploit these rules. Verstappen kind of reminds me of James Harden. I don't know if you watch much NBA anymore.
Very little.
Well, for any NBA fans or non-NBA fans, look up James Harden. Is this traveling? He does this move where he picks up his dribble and in the same motion, he hops backwards to create separation and then throws up a 3-point shot. And it's so on the edge of being illegal, but technically by the rules, it is legal. And I don't know if that's good for the NBA or for F1, where they're getting so close to moves being illegal and then leaving it up to the refs or the stewards to make that judgment call. I think it doesn't, the inconsistency all season has not been good for the sport. I think at the end of a bunch of races, the thought on everybody's mind is, wow, the stewards really screwed that up, which I don't think is a good look for Formula One. And I agree, there needs to be a huge overhaul on the stewarding process, how they make these calls. Um, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say maybe penalize the stewards for making bad calls like they do in other leagues, where refs are kind of penalized. They have like a penalty system and they're punished if they make too many mistakes. I don't know what the issue is, but obviously after the race today, there needs to be everybody needs to take a good hard look at how rules are interpreted and how stewards control the race. And I don't know if we really need to be hearing the teams pleading their case.
Oh, see, I like that actually.
You like that?
It
I
seems
think it looks petty.
oh, it's absolutely petty, but I think that's what I enjoy about it. Is you know what you're going to get. It's going to be both teams saying, well, it's blatantly obvious that
I know. What do you
that,
expect,
that,
right?
that the other guy screwed up. It's interesting to me. I like it, but I can see where somebody else would be like, oh my God, just shut up and race.
I think the stewards need to make their call and then let the teams plead their cases afterwards. I know that these guys are professionals and they're probably not being influenced, excuse me, by the teams. But just the thought that maybe the teams are bad mouthing them to Michael Massey while they're making the judgment, I think that might have some sort of effect on the calls that they make. I think they need to make the calls and then let the teams plead their cases afterwards, or
Mm-hmm.
we can listen to them chit chat about it after the calls are made, but not before.
I think probably the thing with the stewards in today's race is they lucked out in that nothing that happened affected the outcome of the race. The making Max give back the position, all that stuff. I'm pretty confident that pass, especially with the way that Max's tires went off at the end of the race, which they very much did.
Wait, did they make him give that position back? Because I thought Red Bull just
they initially said 5 seconds and you have to give the spot back, but it's like, well, why is it both? Is it 5 seconds or does he have to give the spot back?
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe the 5-second penalty was rescinded and he ended up with a 10. But again, that's the thing with the FIA is there's no clarity. Like when he was given the 5-second penalty, it's like, oh yeah, Max got a 5-second penalty, and we're like, okay, like for which thing?
Yeah, right.
At the time the thought was, oh, okay, was that must be from from brake checking
The
Lewis.
contact, yeah.
But that was the 10-second penalty. So he got 5 seconds for something else. I don't really even know what the hell it was.
It must have been that turn one incident where they both went off.
Yeah.
And Hamilton.
So it's Hamilton, I think, was going to win the race regardless. I don't feel any sort of I'm not always, the FIA screwed Max. No. Hamilton was going to win that race. Hamilton deserved to win the race. And then even with the damaged front wing, he went out there and was just pumping in fastest lap of the race after, over and over and over again.
Which was crazy.
Yeah, no,
he was impressive.
Yeah, he's something else. So they got it wrong all race. Ultimately, it didn't change the outcome of the race. I'm thankful for that.
I don't think it did too greatly.
Elsewhere in the race, I mean, it's one of those, usually we're like, okay, well, this is what happened in the front, but here's interesting things that happened throughout the rest of the race. It's like there was just so much happening between Max and Lewis. It's like, bro, like what even happened the rest of the race? I have no freaking, like, I looked at Ricardo finishing 5th. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? What in the world went on?
And then we didn't even see, well, we barely saw Valtteri and Ocon fighting for P3. Even after the Hamilton had finished the race, they were still focusing on Hamilton and Verstappen that we just saw the last second.
Yeah, didn't even see Valtteri pass Ocon. Heartbreaking for Ocon. That sucks.
Yeah, he drove a really good race today.
He did. It was and Max was voted driver of the race. I think probably Ocon. I think I probably would have voted driver of the race Esteban Ocon,
or overachiever of the race anyway, at the least.
Yeah, definitely. He was certainly an opportunist. That was actually funny when they when Michael Massey called Red Bull and said, we'll give you P2 on the grid, and Red Bull's like, yes, we'll accept P2. That's Ocon P1. And they basically said, oh, wait, no, we forgot about Ocon.
We'll have to get
Ocon
back to
will be
you.
P1, you'll be P3.
Yeah, that was confusing. That was, I mean, it was just a confusing mess all day, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, with all the red flags and the VSCs and the regular safety cars, it's just, it never really got a sort of flow going.
No, I don't like these kind of races.
No, it's all very hectic. I think that's just going to be the nature of that race.
Yeah, I mean, it is the first race at a brand new track as well, so you're going to expect these hiccups in the first race.
Hopefully next, I think I've probably said this in every podcast that we've done for the, since like the 2022 regulations came out, but hopefully with the 2022 regulations, allowing the cars to run closer together, it'll be less of a procession. I mean, this race didn't really feel like a procession because the DRS zones were fairly effective. But just, I don't know, I want to see passing in non-DRS zones. Yeah,
I think that's what the sport is missing right now. And I can't imagine how much better Lewis Hamilton's race would have been if, it was easier to follow, because you saw how much pace he had, how much time he started, how much he was gapping him, Verstappen, once he did get past him, and that was with a destroyed front wing. So if Hamilton had stayed out in front from the beginning with a good wing, he probably would have beaten Verstappen by like over 30 seconds.
I think he probably would have. I mean, even if he didn't pull that much of a gap, just to manage it, I guess. But I mean, he was fast. It's just Max was much faster in sector 1 by probably 0.5, half a second, 0.6 through
slower part of the track.
Yeah. And Christian Horner after the race, of course, said, Max was a lot faster in sector 1, which is really more driver focused. And, Lewis is faster in sectors 2 or 3 because just, anybody can just put their foot to the floor and drive straight.
Salty.
Yeah. Very salty, Christian Horner. I'm going to, after next week, I'm gonna actually be glad to get a little bit of a Christian Horner Toto Wolff break. I'm just I love both of those guys. They're fun. I think they're good for the sport, you know, being big personalities in the role that they are. But I'm just like, yeah, no, I'll be fine with just not hearing from either of those guys until March. That's okay with me.
Yeah. It will be a good final race of the year, though, especially since they've made the changes to the track at Abu Dhabi to make it a little bit easier. They're getting rid of the terrible corners, the two corners that are probably the worst corners in Formula One. They're rounding out a little bit so that the drivers can carry a little bit more speed into, which is good. And then finally, we're going to have a meaningful race at Abu Dhabi for the first time since Nico Rosberg was in Formula One, which was like 6 years ago or something like that. So I'm really excited to see that race.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because while Max walked to a very easy victory there to end the season last year, I'm not sure that has anything at all to do with this season because Lewis was just coming back from coronavirus.
Yeah, he had already wrapped up the championship.
Yeah, there was nothing for Mercedes to play for, and not for nothing, but they changed the track in a way that suits Mercedes a little bit better. So, although I gotta say, Red Bull, I don't think that Lewis won the race today because the Mercedes was just much faster.
No,
I think that it was close enough that, you know, if things would have shaken out differently, if you didn't have the second, if you didn't have the last VSC, or if you didn't have the last restart, and Max is just able to stay out there on the hard tires, yeah, it probably would have been, you know, maybe he stays ahead, maybe he wins the race.
Yeah, I think Merck's strategy really benefited them today. I think Red Bull going on to the medium compound tires.
I think that's probably what killed them. But it was probably also their only shot. I think they knew they weren't going to get past them on the restart on the hard tire.
Yeah, so, especially after his previous race starts.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get that gamble. I thought that made sense, but you know, the medium, I mean, even when the first red flag came out, you saw there was a really good shot of Max's tires. I was like, oh, those already look really beat.
Yeah.
After only a couple of laps.
Yeah.
Pirelli thought that tire should last 30 laps. I think it probably lasted about 24.
Yeah. I mean, they did qualify on them as well, but
yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was a good tire. Pirelli, I think, I don't know why they ever bring harder compounds. Like you guys should just be bringing the 3 softest compounds you have to every race. Because, you know, if we get 3 stop races, that's good.
Good. Yeah. Good.
You know,
I agree.
Like today, if it wasn't a safety car or a red flag fest, it would have been a 1 stopper. You know, it would have just been medium to hard, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
And that would have been terrible. It would have been an awful race.
Yeah, because they would have just been watching after the tires the entire race. They wouldn't have been pushing at all.
I said, oh yeah, you can go 40 something laps on the hard tire. Well, it's a 50 lap race. Why are you bringing that tire?
Yeah, I know. Right.
You know, the medium lasts 30 laps. Good. That's your hard tire. You know, the soft tires, your medium, and the ultra soft, I guess, could be your soft. It's just, I don't know, man. Like you got to do something, because the 1-stop races are not interesting. Adding in pit stops and variables is what's going to make. Now, next season, again, the 2022 Aero regulations, if the cars can pass, then great. Then you can have 1-stop races and they might still be interesting. But at a track like that, where it's hard to pass and you're only having a 1-stop race, well, that's not exactly a recipe usually for an exciting race.
No, I wonder if maybe even bringing back refueling would make the races a little bit more interesting. I know that there's
for sure have more strategy.
Yeah, there's a whole danger aspect to it as to why the FIA won't bring refueling back into Formula One. But I mean, there's got to be a way of making sure that the teams are fueling up properly.
I mean, NASCAR has in-race refueling. They do it with gravity-fed jugs. there's no high speed pump. It's literally just the largest dude on your pit crew with like an 11-gallon metal container that he holds up, and it's got a vent on it.
Yeah.
Just plugs into the side of the car. All the fuel dumps in. He gives the empty one back to the other guy, gets another one, stuffs it on there, puts 22 gallons of fuel in the car over the course of about 10 seconds. And NASCAR manages to not have giant fireballs every week.
No.
And again, that's NASCAR, So incidentally, if anybody listening is a NASCAR fan, I think that if you ever watch a NASCAR pit stop, it is infinitely more impressive what those guys do than a Formula One pit stop.
I think they only have 5 guys.
It's like half as many guys, although it's going to be less so this year because I think they're finally going to center lock lugs.
Okay.
It was before, it was 5 lugs, so you had to, and one guy taking the tire off and all. It's like the only thing to me that is just way more impressive in NASCAR than it is in Formula One.
Yeah,
but even then, I guess that's coming to an end next season. But what are you gonna do? I don't know. It just seems to me like the more variables and the more things that you ask the teams to do, the more potential you have for changing positions and stuff during the race. Ultimately, I would rather that the positions change on track.
Yeah.
So it was it like back in like the V10 era where they're like, yeah, you don't really get overtaking on track. You just get, during pit stops, guys gaining positions that way. So we're at least doing better than that now with DRS. This is actually for overtaking. This has actually been a very good season, I think.
Yeah, it has been.
At least in terms of like modern stuff. So if
the cars have been a lot closer though.
Oh yeah,
performance.
No. Yeah, for sure. Obviously it's still very much, I was going to say it's Red Bull and Mercedes and everybody else, but like if Valtteri was Mercedes' top driver and Checo was Red Bull's top driver, it would be a much closer run thing.
Yeah, I think
with
so.
Teams like Ferrari and AlphaTauri and all those. It's very much Max and Lewis making Mercedes and Red Bull look, I think, probably even more dominant than they actually are this season.
Yeah, definitely is. Even the previous seasons, it was just Mercedes and then Verstappen and then everybody else, Verstappen's teammate and everybody else. So, I think the Red Bull team has made the car a little bit closer to Mercedes' performance this year. Probably one of the more interesting seasons we've had in quite a while. I think the last one was probably the first half of 2017 when Vettel was giving Mercedes a run for their money. So
back before the FIA nerfed Ferrari's engine for whatever it was at Ferguson. I gotta say, Ferrari, I think, is going to be in a very good spot next season.
They look to be.
They seem to have sorted out their engine and their hybrid system. That car is making really good power. And it's still basically a brick. It's still that high drag, high downforce design. It's not slippery like the Mercedes, and it's consistently one of the faster cars in the speed traps. So if that's what Ferrari has going in the back of their car next season, I'm hoping that we see a return to race winning, championship competing form for Ferrari next season. It's just more fun with Ferrari being competitive.
Yeah, they're consistently, in the last couple of races anyway, they've looked to be, even though Ricciardo finished in front of them today, they look to be faster than the McLaren. Whether or not that's because McLaren stopped developing their car halfway through the season or whatever it is. Anyway, the last handful of races, they looked, that cars looked more stable and definitely faster than the McLaren cars. So they're much further ahead than they were at this point last year when they were battling for the final points on the grid.
Yeah, they're definitely in a much better spot. They've generally been probably the best of the rest kind of car in the last maybe 6 races, or the second half of the season anyway.
It helps that they have probably arguably the best driver lineup on the grid right now. So they said that at the beginning of the season, and I didn't think so because I was definitely underrating Carlos Sainz
at the beginning of the season. But he's
Shame on
actually,
you.
yeah. And now you're right. Carlos Sainz is very good.
Mhm.
He's I mean, he's Charles Leclerc. We've been saying he's one of the best drivers on the grid, and Sainz is just right there with him in his first season at that team.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you got to remember, Sainz was teamed up with Max Verstappen at Toro Rosso, and then he went to Renault, where the car was just absolute trash.
yes.
And then finally, when he gets to McLaren, where they have McLaren starts making a comeback. You start to see how well Sainz can drive. And yeah, P7 in the standings. Where did he finish today? I think he finished right behind Leclerc.
Seventh or eighth.
Yeah, I think
Because
Ferrari
I think
finished right behind
Gasly
each
was
other.
sixth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me check.
Sounds right.
Yeah, Leclerc
Also
signed
pulling
seventh and eighth. Wow, I think Ferrari's been finishing right behind each other for the last couple of races as well.
They're consistent. I give them that. So I mean, they're doing a better job consistently picking up points than McLaren has been. I mean, was it they snuck Norris into the points last week, and I am looking forward, I have to say, to going to the race's website tomorrow when Ed Straw does his driver ratings and seeing how he spins Lando Norris finishing 10th into like a 9.0 driver rating.
Yeah,
I think that'll be really interesting to see how he manages that.
I don't know if you've ever read the comments on his page, but it's always just people disagreeing with the ratings that he gets.
It's usually I usually catch them on Twitter, and there's a couple of people there was one like they always retweet it, and it's Lando Norris. It shows like for the race, it's like Ricardo like picks up 4 spots and Norris drops 2 spots, and Norris gets like an 8.5 and Ricardo gets a 4.
Yeah.
Like what does the man have to do? I guess there's British bias, but Jesus,
yeah.
That's harsh.
It was a couple of drivers had pretty decent days today. Gasly coming in P6, Giovinazzi.
I was gonna say that's the guy I'm looking at, P9 right here.
Yeah, he had a pretty decent qualifying too.
Yeah, he was really good in qualifying.
Yeah, far outpaced his teammate.
Which is
I wish he would have put in these performances before he lost his seat.
Might have been nice, although with the money, I guess, that Joe is bringing, that was probably going to happen regardless.
Yeah,
but but him going out on a high note, you could see him having that Albon or Ocon situation, right? He's a guy I could see getting a second shot.
I think so.
Maybe at a Haas or something like that. If Mick moves on, or if
VW comes in and there's some extra seats.
It would be nice to see 2 more cars on the grid. If we could have 22 cars.
Yeah. Although I don't think he has any links to the VW Auto Group.
No, he's a Ferrari Academy driver.
Yeah.
So I have to assume the next thing that we'll see for Giovinazzi after this, I think, or I would hope that he'll be part of Ferrari's hypercar Le Mans team. I think that would be. I think that would actually be really cool. And actually, Charles Leclerc has actually talked about being interested in running Le Mans too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Giovinazzi is going to Formula E next year, I think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think he's signed.
Oh, that's right.
With
I saw that.
Yeah. So, I mean, he'll definitely have time to do Le Mans.
I was going to say he's still going to be contracted to Ferrari. So
yeah.
Norris 10th.
I'm just heading down the list here.
I guess actually Lance Stroll finishing 11th. That's not a bad effort because that car seemed to be trash all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, knocked out of Q1, and finishing behind Vettel in qualifying as well. I know Vettel today.
Yeah, there were 17 and 18, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with only the Haas's behind you. I mean, that's bad.
Yeah. Wait, I thought did Latifi beat both of them in qualifying?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, both Williams were both ahead of him. Yep.
Yeah, I think if Vettel hadn't had that issue with Tsunoda and then with Raikkonen later on, I think Vettel would have probably finished in the points, even if it would have just been P10 or something like that.
That's still better than a DNF.
Yeah. Right.
Latifi the God down there in 12th.
He had himself a pretty nice little race. Man, I can't believe Tsunoda. What?
Yeah,
I don't know what happened with him. He started P8 and then dropped down to like P12 at the end of turn 1, lap 1.
Yeah.
And then just had himself made contact
Just
with
went backwards
Vettel.
from there.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
I
had a
don't know
rough
what the deal
day,
is. Yeah,
which is because he looked really good all weekend up to that point.
he did. I
I
mean, Gasly started out poor as well, but Gasly finished up really well, whereas Tsunoda just kept dropping further and further back the entire
Well,
race.
you would think like a brand new circuit would kind of even it up a little bit. So it not that it would necessarily favor Yuki, but it's he's at the
Minimizes
same
the gap.
disadvantage as everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, he was good up to that point. He was unfortunate. I think next season, I'm looking for a bigger a good bounce back from Sonoda from what's been a really inconsistent rookie season for him.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's just him pushing to try and prove a point, and hopefully by next year he'll kind of figure it out, calm down a little bit during the race. He's been doing better, less
Yeah,
meltdowns on the radio, towards
yeah,
the end
unless
of the
they're just not
season.
going to him. But
Yeah, yeah. But I see some positive changes in him. He's had some pretty decent races the last couple of races, just
Mhm.
not a really good race today. And then a lot of DNFs.
Yeah.
I didn't see what happened to Perez. Did you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he coming through the really narrow, I was gonna say the really narrow section of the track, but that's the whole track.
Yeah, yeah.
Leclerc was on his left and Checo, I don't know if Checo got squeezed to the right because I know Checo had a car to his right and just ended up coming over to the left and basically catching his left rear tire on Leclerc's right front tire.
Okay.
And that basically just turned Checo right into the wall. And somehow Leclerc got out of there with either a minimum of damage or no damage at all. Because Leclerc said on the radio after that he thinks that Checo just forgot that he was there. Because
Yeah, I think
you could see it from
initially,
Leclerc's camera. It's just Checo just coming right over to the left, to boop, right around into the wall.
yeah, initially, because I was just listening to it at first, it sounded like Leclerc may have been at fault, but then later
No,
on,
nowhere he could have went.
yeah, later on, Martin Brundle came on and said, yeah, Checo just kind of turned in on Charles there. So
Yeah,
I
if
assumed it was Perez making a mistake, but I didn't see it personally.
yeah, it had to have just been that he either forgot that he was there or I'd say he thought he was clear, but it was, I mean, he was almost halfway up. At that
Yeah.
point, if Leclerc breaks or backs off, all that happens is that Checo's rear tire hits his front tire sooner because
Okay.
that's just, it's they were already kind of intertwined like that. So it worked out well for Leclerc, which was nice. It worked out poorly for Checo.
Yeah, the Leclerc had a really good start too. On the initial start of the race, he beat out Perez, managed to stay in front of Perez.
Yep.
I know that Perez made a mistake, locked up, and almost hit Verstappen.
Yeah, almost
but,
took out Max.
Yeah, kudos to Leclerc for being able to stay out in front of the Red Bulls. And I don't know if it's concerning that both the Red Bulls are having issues off the line. I mean, this goes back to even last year when Verstappen and Albon were having issues getting off the line at race starts. So
Right.
I don't know what the deal is with that Red Bull car, but Verstappen either has godlike starts or he just bogs down.
Yeah.
And starts losing positions.
Yeah, because even the start where he was behind Hamilton and Ocon, it wasn't a great start.
No, he just managed
It
to
was
pull it out.
Yeah, it was just a
going
really
into
good
the turn.
send down the inside. He was still back a ways.
Yeah, and he was
So
on the medium tires too at that point, wasn't he?
yeah, so I mean, if he was on the hard tire, I guess he probably wouldn't have been close enough to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I know who else. George Russell raced to forget because he got rear-ended by poor old Nikita Mazepin.
Who couldn't really do anything.
No, God, no. There was not a single thing that Mazepin could have done in that situation. It was just, everybody was going around, and then Russell had to hit the brakes, and he was in the back of them.
Yeah.
So, nothing. There's been plenty of times this season where Nikita Mazepin was at fault. This time, Nikita Mazepin was a passenger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, nothing. A bad weekend for Haas. I mean, luckily for them, they only have to do this one more time because they're spending a lot of money on parts.
Yeah. It's very expensive to finish in last place these days in Formula One.
Right.
What happened with Schumacher? I know he just kind of went around.
Yeah, he just went around.
Is that what it
went
was?
around and stuffed it into the wall.
Okay.
So yeah, he didn't seem to get hit. He wasn't with anybody. The car just, I don't know if he took it up over a curb and went around like something like Sainz did in qualifying.
Yeah,
Um,
the only images I saw was him already parked on the
yeah,
road, so I didn't see exactly what
yeah,
happened to
same.
him.
So I didn't hear them mention that there was contact with anybody. So I would have to assume that there just wasn't.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind of a disappointing day for Alonso. He started off pretty well,
yeah,
making up some positions. I mean, they
I think the
focused so
red flag
much.
might have hurt him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he must have
Yeah.
pitted super early. I know Ocon didn't pit, and that's why he kind of benefited from the.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't remember seeing much of Alonso other than the beginning of the race where he made up a couple of positions and they were talking about him. But that's kind of sucks for him after the last race that he had.
Yeah, and he's also one of those guys it's more interesting when Alonso is competitive.
Yeah.
So you want to see Alonso and Vettel and I guess Raikkonen, the older guys. You want to see them in there making passes and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
uh Alonso just kind of fading to the back and then not being able to do anything, that's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. I saw a YouTube poll um, where the majority of the voters gave today's race a 5-star rating.
Really?
Yes. And I think I mean, they're probably taking into account all the drama and all the controversy, but just as a
Yeah,
race itself, I don't think it was a really good race,
it's
honestly.
a 5 out of 5 race in terms of like what you're gonna get out of Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
For the and I'm not disparaging Drive to Survive and people who are F1 fans
No,
just because of Drive to Survive.
I
I
enjoy
really
the
don't
show.
care.
Yeah, I
So
enjoy the
so
show.
for them, and everybody that watches it, this is going to be excellent content on DTS.
Yes.
So it'll be a 5 out of 5 race for that episode of Drive to Survive for sure.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of those this season actually.
Well, yeah, pretty much any race where Hamilton and Verstappen make contact will
So I
make
might have to
for.
actually watch Drive to Survive, I guess, for this
Yeah.
season.
I didn't watch much last year just because I knew they were going to focus on Albon losing his seat. So I kind of cherry picked the episodes that I watched. But yeah, I think this season's going to be a good one.
I'll say, so, yeah, so you can watch the DTS about the 2022 season about Alex's triumphant return.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, RIP Frank Williams.
Oh,
So
yes. I can't believe we forgot to
um,
mention that.
yeah, I don't know how we got that far into the show. Frank Williams, I mean, just a absolute legend, giant of the sport. Good to see that everybody had the original Frank Williams decal on their cars this week, which I'm like, oh, that's cool. No matter who wins, Frank Williams will be we'll get the victory this week. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I know he's already kind of a hero in F1, but if he were American, he would have been the quintessential American dream kind of guy,
Yep.
started off from nothing, built his own company, um, going from barely being able to get into races, losing his company, starting up another company, and then making it to the top of the sport. If he were American, he would be a true American hero. But um, you know, he's still an amazing guy for what he did. I don't think anybody else can claim to do what he did. I know Bruce McLaren already had experience racing before he started his company up. So I think Frank Williams is probably the only man in F1 history to be able to claim that he literally started from the bottom and made it all the way to the top.
Yeah. And I mean, really starting very small and then a period of time. Because I mean, he had what I think 8 world championships.
7, I think.
Was it 7 drivers and 8 constructors?
Oh, okay, yeah,
it was something like that. I mean, just a period where this little, I don't want to call them necessarily a little team, but not tied to a manufacturer. They're not Ferrari, for example. that they were the dominant force in the sport under his leadership for a long time.
Yes.
Having one of what I think we both agreed was one of the all-time great cars, the FW14B. So much stuff done for the sport, a universally beloved figure. One of those reasons
not a perfect man. We all
No.
know that. Yeah, not a perfect man, but
no, it didn't have to be. So
I think that's what also makes him greater,
human.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that he was human and still achieved what he achieved.
Mm-hmm. And we still have, even though it's no longer owned by his family, we do still have the team that bears his name. And I gotta say, I appreciated that Doralton didn't change the name of the team. I think they recognized there's enough brand equity there with Williams that it would have made more sense to change it.
Yeah.
So RIP Frank Williams. He'll be missed.
I'm glad that he, at the very least, lived long enough to see his team start to dig itself out of the hole.
That they were no longer far and away the worst. Right. They're definitely a team heading in the right direction, which was nice.
And he got to see both Latifi and Russell score points.
There you go.
Score their first points in a Williams car. So yeah, he was a character in the paddock. And obviously everybody's been saying that they've missed his presence in the paddock, and truly sad, but everybody will miss him.
It does suck that he didn't get to hang around to see Nicholas Latifi win the World Drivers' Championship this season.
So that would have made his day. Oh, it would make my day, honestly.
Well, yeah, that is like my one wish for the 2022 season is just that the Williams is better than the Mercedes. It's not I like Nicholas Latifi. I'm not like there are people on Twitter that are just like giant Nicholas Latifi fans. And I'm like, I think that's cool that like literally every driver except me. I've even seen Nikita Mazepin fans. I really have.
He's winning some fans back. So
yeah, for sure. I just think that would be hilarious. George Russell goes and gets the drive at Mercedes, and then the Williams is the better car this season. That would be super funny.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised considering how deep into the season Mercedes is still developing that car. I mean, I know it's probably just small incremental development at this point, but any development they're making this year is taken away from development for next year's car. So.
And Williams will have a lot more wind tunnel time and all that stuff. And I think they're also going to have a more, they've been stepping up their, no longer just being a customer of Mercedes. They're a technical partner and all that stuff. So they'll get more Mercedes suspension bits and all that fun stuff for next season. So
yeah, I mean, and we've seen how much McLaren improved by partnering up with Mercedes this year. So
yeah, literally just taking out the Renault engine and stuffing a Mercedes motor in the back of it and changing nothing else.
Yeah.
And the car is just way better.
Yeah. So any Mercedes equipment in that Williams car next year is gonna, hopefully they'll be consistently fighting, even if it is for the just P9 and P10, they'll be getting points on a consistent basis. Plus they have Alex Albon, so of course I'm gonna be rooting for them.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, five race wins confirmed. Alex Albon. So what is let's pivot slightly here. One race left.
Yeah.
Hamilton, Max are level on 369.5 points apiece.
I think Mercedes is pretty much won the
Mercedes.
The constructors.
I believe this week they essentially locked up. Unless both Mercedes DNF and Max and Checo finish 1-2 next week. I think that's because they have like a 40-point lead. I think.
I'm
not looking
just
at
the 28 point.
28 point. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless I'm doing my math wrong. 10, 20. Yeah, 28. Okay.
28 point lead. A pretty safe lead. Max is ahead on wins. So in theory, if they both DNF, Max wins the championship. So Max could just pull a Senna, but I can't see that going over well. And I can see the FIA just being like, no.
No, yeah.
we're going to penalize you 5 points. Although I don't know that they have a mechanism to do that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't let Schumacher get away with it. So
no,
yeah.
for sure not. So I guess what is your prediction for next week? We're next week we're doing a show, same bat time, same bat channel. What are we sitting here talking about next week?
See, it's tough because traditionally Red Bull has performed better, but usually by this point in the season, Mercedes has stopped caring about winning. So this is a tough one. Overtaking is traditionally difficult at Abu Dhabi. I know they've made 2 changes to the track. One at the beginning of the first DRS zone, I believe, and then one at the end of the second DRS zone. I mean, just from the looks of it, the Mercedes engine might give Mercedes the slight lead here just because the DRS zones are so long. We've seen today that even if Hamilton loses time through the twisty turny bits of the track, he can more than make up for it on the straights. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to give the edge here to Hamilton. I think lately he's just looked to be in better form. You know, Brazil, he looked much quicker. What happened in Qatar? Verstappen won in Qatar, right? I think he did.
Qatar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Verstappen win there? I don't remember when the last time Max won was.
No, Hamilton won in Qatar.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Hamilton's coming off a win in Brazil. He's coming off a win in Qatar. He's coming off a win in Saudi Arabia. Ever since he made that engine change, he's been performing a lot better. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to give the edge here to Hamilton. Obviously, Verstappen in P2. I might give Checo P3 here. But yeah, I think at the end of the Abu Dhabi race, Mercedes and Hamilton will be your constructor and drivers champion, I should say.
Yeah, I'm leaning in that direction as well, as much as I don't necessarily want that to happen. But I gotta say, I'm, I'd like Max to win, obviously, because that's what I've been rooting for the entire season so far. I'm fortunate in that I love Lewis Hamilton. The guy's great. I think he's great for the sport. I think he's a great guy. Inspiration for my kids, all that stuff. I took a short video of Langston was like watching like the last lap of the race, just like jumping up and down, watching, watching Hamilton's last lap. I'm like, all right, fine. So it'll be interesting. It's just, I don't think that last season's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix has anything to do with this year's.
No, I mean, Alex Albon almost came in P3, for goodness sake.
There you go. Just Mercedes had nothing to play for last season.
No.
And they have everything to play for this season.
Yeah.
But, but at the same time, Max at a track, of the 2 remaining tracks, we thought that this track in Saudi Arabia suited Mercedes more than Abu Dhabi. And Red Bull was right there. Or I should say Max. Max was right there with Lewis in terms of pace. If the tires didn't go away, maybe he keeps him behind him. Maybe Lewis doesn't pull away, but they're right there on pace. I think Lewis Hamilton wins his 8th World Drivers' Championship. It will not shock me at all if just Max is quicker in every session and goes to an easy victory next week. The season's been so weird. There's like nothing left that can happen that'll surprise me.
I think if Verstappen can keep his cool, I think that's what kind of caused his downfall in Brazil and in today's race. He kind of lost his cool, started pushing to the edge with some of the moves he was making that ended up costing him the race. I think if he can keep his cool in Abu Dhabi, I think he has a chance. I don't think it's a clear-cut win for Hamilton, but
Mhm.
um, he's he's had an issue keeping his cool on track the last couple of races, and I think that's what's cost him. Well, obviously, it cost him in qualifying yesterday,
Mhm.
just pushing way too hard when he was already 3/10 up. Um, there was really no need for that. He just needed to have a clean sector
Right.
three to get pole position, and just pushing way too hard.
Mhm.
Um, and then again in the race, just kind of some questionable moves. But I think if he can keep his cool, and if the Red Bull doesn't need to be faster than Mercedes, but if the Red Bull is close enough and Verstappen drives relatively well and keeps a clear mind, I think he still has a chance here. But just going from the last couple of races, I think it looks like Hamilton and Mercedes probably have the edge going into this race. We have a 2 week period, right? Or is it
No,
this
it's on the
come?
12th. Yeah,
Oh,
it's next week.
geez.
Yeah.
Oh, this will be
It
interesting.
it's also you should remember that that's going to be the third race for Lewis's spicy engine.
Mhm.
Um, so that engine is now more than halfway through its lifespan. So it is getting towards the end of its life because they would figure 4 races, given
Yeah.
that this is Lewis's 5th engine of the season. So he'll have less of an advantage with that this next week than he would have had this week or at Brazil.
Mhm.
So maybe that plays to Red Bull a little bit. I don't see them taking an engine penalty, and
No, no,
because
it's
it's Abu Dhabi, you're not
way
getting
too
past
important. Yeah.
anybody. So I don't know. I think it'll be Lewis. I hope it's Max, but if it is Lewis, I'm perfectly content with 8-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. I
Yeah.
think that's fine. Um, I don't know. I'm interested in whatever happens. So
Yeah. I think it's
so
a toss up just because it's the final race of the year. You
yeah.
don't need to conserve anything on the car anymore. It's
Mhm.
literally you need to push or we're gonna lose this anyway. So you might as well push and use up
Right.
everything in the car. So this will be an
And
exciting race either way.
yeah, and I think from what we've seen from Max is nothing that happened today is going to change the way that Max races next week.
No,
Uh,
of course
on
not.
the other hand, Lewis might have to race a little bit different next week.
Yeah, he'll have
Um,
to be a little bit more on guard.
yeah, I think Max is still going to be aggressive. And the thing is that Max can do that because if they both wreck and they're both out of the race and the FIA says, no, that was just clearly a racing incident, well, Max
Mhm.
wins.
Yeah.
So Lewis, it's interesting in that Lewis has to get taken out in such a way that it's painfully obvious that it was Max's fault.
Yeah.
That's what Lewis would have to do, or just pass him. So I don't think you would see Lewis taking any kind of chances if he has we've seen from Lewis, he's infinitely patient. He will wait
Mhm.
for the best possible time to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think Max is going to. Again, I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna turn Hamilton into Prost. I
Yeah.
don't.
No,
I don't see
no.
that happening. He said he doesn't want to win that way. I tend to believe him.
Mhm.
Um, he's still only 24 years old. Do you want to go through the rest of your career having people feel that way about you? Come on.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that. So
No, no.
yeah. So I don't know. Anything else that you want to cover from this race?
Um, no, I think that's I think we pretty much covered everything. Yeah, I think we've pretty
Yeah,
much covered
that's
everything. Yeah, and I know the first half of this show was pretty much the Verstappen and Hamilton fight. So,
pretty
um,
much. Yeah, and bitching about the FIA. So
yeah,
which
yeah,
which I still feel strong. That's the thing that from today that I feel most strongly about.
yeah,
Is that yeah, Hamilton won the race, but the biggest losers today were the FIA. It was so bad.
yeah.
So
You hate to see the race determined in the refs booth or the
right,
stewards booth.
which again that it didn't happen today. None of their judgments affected the outcome of the race to me.
Yeah,
Um,
it did create enough of a mess to where it got really
to where we're
weird.
talking about that.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh wow, that was a drama-filled spectacular race. It's wow, no, the FIA really screwed up today. That was really bad.
So, some people, Verstappen fans, will probably still blame the stewards for Max losing. Yeah.
Oh man, F1 Twitter's crazy right now.
Yeah. So
every driver's hardcore fans are all annoying. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Except maybe Seb Vettel fans, just because Vettel is like the nicest man on earth.
Yeah.
So, the people that are like the big Vettel fans, and it's like, oh, look, he's cleaning up in the stands. He's like, all right, well, yeah. Vettel, lovely bloke. Okay, we all agree, Right. People were everybody was mad at Daniel Ricciardo on F1 Twitter.
For what? What did he do?
He was talking about Saudi Arabia, and instead of talking about the obvious human rights issues and stuff that people are talking about in Saudi Arabia, I think he referred to it as like drama and negativity or something like that. And people were mad at Daniel Ricciardo, who again is a 32-year-old Labrador retriever.
Yeah.
We're mad at him about not just saying, well, I don't know anything about the situation, but it's terrible or something like that. I'm like, bro, just leave him alone. He just wants to drink champagne out of his shoe.
Look, he obviously knows that complaining about that stuff isn't a good look for him or his sport,
Right.
Politics, these drivers aren't there to talk politics, they're there to race. So I can't fault him.
Except for Hamilton, who I guess is there for both.
Yeah. And he's drawn a lot of criticism for that as well. But Ricardo's he's there to focus on that race. That's his job. He's not a political activist. So I'm not expecting that from him.
No, and that's the thing. And when Lewis does it, it's you expect that from Lewis Hamilton. That's his brand.
Yeah.
Lewis is, like Seb, they wear the t-shirts. He has the rainbow on his helmet for last week and this week, which I think was awesome. That's not Daniel Ricciardo. And it doesn't have to be everybody. It's okay that it's just Lewis and Seb that are doing that. It's not everybody, it's not going to be everybody on the grid. It's not, it doesn't have to be George Russell and Charles Leclerc too. It's good enough that it's, a 4-time world champion and a 7, possibly soon to be 8-time world champion doing it. So
they're also like the leaders on the grid anyway. Right. They're the oldest guys on track, or 2 of the older guys on track. So you would expect something like that out of those 2, and not so much the party animal.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know, man. It's just everybody wants them to be the same level of progressive or something, but but like not everybody's the same. It's not Daniel Ricciardo's game.
Yeah, they're not. They're not paid to do that.
Well, and like you've seen Daniel Ricciardo's helmet the entire season. Is it's that like the teal, it says all good always, which is just he's like, oh yeah, man, just everybody should just like be who they are and stuff, and that's what he's been saying all season. And now like he says a word that they were like he wasn't strong enough on his words, so now they all want to go off on Daniel Ricciardo. Come on, man, leave our honorary American Daniel Ricciardo alone.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you were talking about how people were upset that Norris moved to Monaco.
To Monaco, yeah.
Yeah. And why were they upset?
Because it's a tax haven.
Jesus.
So he doesn't have to pay taxes.
Look, if you were a millionaire and you were getting screwed on like 33% of your earnings, you would do anything you could to not have that happen as well.
Especially for and I'm not a Lando Norris fan.
Yeah.
But
by the way, everybody lives in Monaco.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Most of the F1 drivers live in Monaco.
Well, and that was actually one of the things people were saying was like somebody was like, "Oh, it's no big deal that Lando's moving." It's like, okay, but you flamed Lewis for doing the same thing.
Yeah.
For Lando, like it makes sense. Like you're a young guy in your first big contract. Why wouldn't you want all of that money for the security of your family? I understand that.
Yeah, and Monaco's a party town, so
I'm sure Lando will find plenty of like philanthropic stuff to do. He's going to give back plenty over the course of his career. So just chill. It's fine.
Yeah.
He's all right.
I mean, and compared to other drivers, he's not making that much money anyway. Like
No, probably comparatively little compared to a Hamilton or a
Yeah.
Verstappen or
Yeah.
even like a Fernando Alonso who
And
had to.
he comes from money. He's been living in the lap of luxury his entire life, so it's not like
Look, I assume that pretty much anybody in Formula One is, if
somewhat
they didn't
comes
come
from
from
money.
being outright wealthy, they at least came from being quite comfortable.
Yeah, I think the only exception probably is Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I forget what his father did, but working class,
Yeah.
that sort of.
Yeah, he had to work like 2 or 3 jobs to pay for his junior
Right.
karting career. So
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
yeah,
obviously we know who Max Verstappen's father is. So
yeah. So pretty
not
much
good.
same news as always. Not what is the saying? Much to do about nothing.
Much to do about nothing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
people just getting upset for no reason.
Pretty much. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically
Okay.
what our whole show is. Just
Yeah.
being upset about a whole lot of nothing.
Yep.
So I think I don't know. Are you working on anything right now?
No, I've been on myself about going back to making some more
Slacker.
videos, but every time I turn the damn computer on, I just get obsessed playing War Thunder, and then by the time I
Freaking-
realize it, it's like 10 hours later, and I'm like, oh shit,
Yes.
I haven't played F1 at all today. So,
Dang.
yeah, I'm gonna get back into it.
I gotta look. Hold on. I'm opening Steam right now because I want to see how many hours I have in War Thunder.
You play?
I used to.
Oh, shit, man, jump on, dude.
267 hours.
Yeah. Oh shit. Okay, I think I'm at like a little over.
You're probably ahead of that.
I'm a little over 200. No, just like 210. Because last time I checked, like 5 days ago, I was at like 197. So
it says I only have 72 hours in Euro Truck Simulator 2, and that's bullshit. There's no way that's correct.
Yeah.
Way higher than that.
I'm gonna jump on the Steam right now.
Yeah,
and I can't minimize when I'm recording.
That's what the show has become.
Yeah.
I have 142 hours in Kerbal Space Program.
But yeah, if anybody watching wants to join me and squad up on War Thunder, my gamer tag is Boonjamin Bakchoy, pretty much my YouTube channel name.
There we go.
Yeah,
as always, spelled exactly the way it sounds.
Yeah, I think on Steam there's no spaces between the names, but anyway, just look it up. But yeah, you working on anything?
No, God, no.
No.
Okay. I'll have to get back on War Thunder. I don't own a joystick at the moment, so
I just play with keyboard and mouse anyway.
No, what? No. Well, no, but you're doing like tanks and stuff, right?
I'm doing everything.
All right, yeah. No, I get if I'm gonna play War Thunder, I'm gonna be flying and I'm gonna do a terrible job. But I do need to use a joystick of some sort.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I've been doing a whole lot of nothing. I still haven't done anything on the other podcast, so this is the only thing that I'm doing right now. I am getting ready to go back to school at some point, so I've been
Good
doing.
for you.
So I've been doing algebra. That's what I've been doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I am a math major, so if you need any help.
Oh shit, that's right. I should have asked you.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Asian math major. Come on, man. If anybody can help you with algebra,
hard to be much more stereotypical than that. See, I was trying to do it was a system of equations with 3 unknowns or something like that, and figuring for X, Y, and Z. And that was something I never actually learned to do that in high school. So what I was gifted at was guess and check. So looking at it and being like, it looks like it's about this much, and figuring it out and basically doing that faster than you could actually figure out, the answers the right way.
Yeah.
So I did finally, I did that last night after more attempts that I'm comfortable disclosing. But I did get it right. So next is some calculus basics, and then maybe I will actually get to do some physics at some point.
Oh, man, yeah. Once you get to like integration and derivatives, all that crap.
Yes, derivatives. That's the next one.
That's the difficult section, man.
That's actually what I like about the book that I'm doing right now. Is it basically it gives you the math that you need as you need it. So I'm not having to go do a whole calculus class. Or I don't know. I might do that eventually, because I guess I'm like, oh, that's right. I never realized that, like, I always thought I was bad at math, but it was just that I had untreated ADD and didn't know it.
Oh,
and
okay.
so I couldn't do it. Now, however, I have untreated ADD, but I'm aware of it. So, so
That
I'm
helps a
like, so
little
I
bit.
can, yeah, so I can work around it,
Yeah.
So, but the ADD, the depression, still 100% untreated. Life's a mess. That's okay.
Well, here's a little tip for you and any of the 12 people listening. There is this website called Chegg, CHEGG.com, that pretty much has all the God, my wife just scared me for a second there.
I just saw
Okay.
her walk
Yeah.
across.
We live in an old mill, so I'm afraid of ghosts.
As long
But
as she
anyway,
doesn't come back around with a knife, I think you meant.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the website's called Chegg, and I think it's like $12 a month. It gives you like all the professor's solution books and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Definitely helped me out during the online classes during COVID. I'm
I
not
gotta be
saying it's
honest.
cheating,
Yeah,
but it
I gotta say
helps.
the word "cheg" just sounds like a racial slur to me.
Yeah,
I
you
I
dirty
don't know
Chegg.
for whom, but it sounds like if somebody if I was just wondering and said, "Hey, you cheg," and I'll be like, I don't know what that means, but I'm offended by it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm a
Oh,
liberal and I'm
I'm gonna have to
offended.
take a look then.
Yeah, well, anyway, yeah, we're getting kind of off topic here.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Nobody's left listening by this point. It's fine.
No, no, no,
So,
everybody's gone.
all right, guys. Well, we're gonna leave you guys here. We will be back after Abu Dhabi to recap and probably for me to cry because Max is maybe not gonna win, but we'll find out.
Yeah,
So
we'll
anyway, guys,
definitely be back in a week.
all right, we'll be back in a week. We'll talk to you then. Um that's pretty much it, right?
I think so.
All right,
All
latest.
right, see you guys.
Bye. You can